Hey, Ms. Brown, how are you?
Okay, John, how are you?
Doing good. Just so
Good.
you know, we do have some public in attendance, okay? So just wanted to make you aware.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome to Calumet District School Board special meeting. John?
Yep, roll call.
Yeah.
Actually opening at 6:04 p.m. All right, roll call. Alman, absent. Brown,
Here.
Carr, absent. Ivy, absent. Story,
I'm present.
Towers,
Present.
Harris,
Yes, here, present.
okay.
Approval of agenda. We have a motion to approval of the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Chris Towers, second by Sherry Story. Roll call, John?
Yes, Alman, absent. Brown,
Yes.
Carr, absent. Ivy, absent. Story,
Yes.
Towers,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes,
okay, motion carried.
thank you. Consider agenda items, personal items, letter A, B, C, D, and E. May I have a motion?
I have a question on, I think it's D2.
Okay, question?
That's the accounts payable?
You
Let's say
saying D,
three questions. Is that the accounts payable? I don't have the, unfortunately, I didn't think to bring the agenda, pull the agenda down. Hold on a second, let me just see if I can get the agenda.
Yes, it is, Miss Brown. That is B as in boy. B2 is the accounts
Yeah.
payable.
All right, so I have three questions. The first question is, I'm trying to get better clarity on the 17,500 for the superintendent commission. Can the superintendent give us a little bit more information on price point? How did we come to this figure and what's this for?
Yes, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. On April 6th, that's our District Institute Day, and it was built into the calendar that the entire district will attend the Superintendent Commission's Conference. It's a conference that the district has attended in the past. It's managed by it's mostly South Cook districts, whereas school districts participate in curriculum instruction, equity, social emotional learning, and parenting. So it's a 3-day conference. Our district will attend on one day. And the cost is $175 per person. And we are taking 100 people. So that's all of our teachers, paraprofessionals, and support staff. And that's our district institute for April 6th.
Thank you.
and just to add,
Yes.
and just to add with that, that's something that I attended every year. And just so happened, no other board members or staff were attending. I was attending. Matter of fact, last year, Ms. Washington had the opportunity to attend for the first time. So, and it had parent engagement there. So it's something that our district knows about, but no one attended. So,
Thank you.
mhm. The second question?
Second question is about the classification. So I am trying to get a sense of the DLA, the board approved architectural architectural expenses for DLA up to 20,000. I am asking, it seems like we are far over that. And perhaps at the finance committee, we can have a look at what was approved by the board. And then the actual, I don't know who's monitoring those expenditures, but it would appear that we are.
So what number are you looking at, Consuelo?
So I'm still looking at the payables. When I look at what was approved last month for DLA, I think it looked like it was 23,000.
I can speak to that.
Yes.
So DLA is our architect of record. Every school district is required to have an attorney of record and an architect of record. And I'm not sure of the $20,000 cap, but I mean, that's an unheard of number in that your architect has to approve, and everything that happens to your facilities, your architect has to approve, has to do the renderings and design on. So everything that's done in the district, from health, life, safety to when you have to repair a roof, your architect firm has to sign off on it. They also have to do the processing and the work. So what you see in the payables for this month, is DLA working on our boiler project as well as roof repairs. So you're going to see a bill every month from your architect, just like you do from your attorney. So I can't speak to the $20,000, but your architect is is not retaining because they don't have a set fee, but your architect is paid every month because they do work all the time in your district.
So we might want to revisit that because I want to make sure that we are honoring the spirit of the motion that was approved by the board for a particular set of services, and that we're monitoring that expenditure vis-a-vis the board resolution. And so this then brings me to my third question, which is about the classification of both ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds. And I'm trying to get a sense of why there are some expenditures, for instance, DLA, I think there's a $20,000, I think the resolution specifies 20,000 from ESSER 2 funds. So sometimes we're categorizing ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds. I'm not quite sure why we're using ESSER 3 funds for certain things, but perhaps you can just, and we can take this up, hopefully we can get a finance committee meeting, how you're classifying those two and when you're classifying them, because there seems to be, for me, a little bit of inconsistency about how and when we're using that classification in the payables.
So the funding source is negligible. And what that means is in each of the grants, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and ESSER 3, you write different objectives and different tasks.
Mhm.
And so because of, depending on what you write into the grant, that's where you pay for it. So there are some things, I'll give you an example, like the roof, that's being paid for out of local funds because that's not written into a grant. But when you talk about the boiler, that's written into the ESSER 3 grant.
Mhm.
So that's paid out of ESSER 3. Currently, I can't speak to the prior ESSER 2, but currently ESSER 2 is where the funding comes from for the preliminary work and design for the Calumet gym expansion. So the funding source is necessarily negligible in that depending on what you have, what it is, you pay for it from different buckets.
Right. That's my understanding. So I'm just wondering, we'll take it up. I think we'll have a, finance committee, I'd like to sort of address this because I think there needs to be some consistency. I don't know that I agree with you completely about negligible. I'm practicing what I learned this weekend from the finance trainings that we had. But it feels to me like I think that it's kind of hit or miss. And if we are in fact, using those payables as a way to track what's being spent in those particular funds, and if it's allowable, and you're asking us to approve these expenditures. So I feel like as a board member, my responsibility is to ensure that we are not only watching what's being spent, but making sure that we are categorizing them correctly, particularly if it's grant money. So I'm inviting us to have a conversation about how that's being captured in our actual documents, because I think it will help us long term.
And what you're saying, so when I say negligible means that all type of operations come from different funding sources.
Right.
So for instance, let's say professional development. We could send a teacher to a conference and pay for it from Title I, from Title II, from Title IV, from special ed, from ESSER 2, from ESSER 3. It all just depends on what's written into the grant. We also can pay for it from local funds. So that's what I mean when I say negligible. So it's conceivable that you may see the architect being paid from 5 or 6 different funding sources, just because that's where that funding source is, or the project is funded out of that source.
I agree. We don't disagree. I just think that I'm just asking for some clarity and consistency, because it then helps me figure out when I'm looking at these grants, where I can find those in the accounts payable, and how they're being earmarked. And there just seems to be a little bit of inconsistency from my perspective about when we're drawing from funds and then if they're allowable.
And
So-
the board, the entire board, and I think it was at your request, Ms. Brown, the entire board received the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 grants.
Mhm.
So you can see exactly, and if you look at the count numbers, they correlate to what's in the grant. So you can see exactly what's allowable based on the program code and the description, and then where we're paying it from. So they all align. But no, that's definitely fine. We can talk about it in finance.
Perfect, thank you. Those were, and then finally, the last question is just about the ComEd bill. And perhaps an observation or request, because it seems like I'm trying to figure out why the Calumet, the borough and like the electricity rates are wildly different per school. And so I am wondering if we've had a energy audit and if the costs are directly related or correlated to the square footage. I can't figure out why the middle school, their electricity goes almost 6,000, and then the other schools are like 2,000 and 3,000. So I'm trying to figure out what is it that is causing there to be such a spike or expense, a larger expense in middle school.
Well, and that's actually an easy question. The easy response is, and you said it, square footage is one. But also at Calumet, that's where all of our district's technology infrastructure is located. So that draws way more energy than the other buildings. Burr Oak Academy and Burr Oak School are relayed to Calumet. So essentially the grid is at Calumet Middle School and everything else is relayed. That's a question I asked as well when I came. And if you notice, there's 3 separate bills. So every building is billed differently for water, electricity, gas, and that's the reason why, because Calumet Middle School is the circuit for the entire district.
Thank you. We'll come back to whether I'd be interested to see what the cost is per square footage, and perhaps as we're looking at capital projects, how much more cost that will be monthly for additional footage added to those buildings. That's it. Those are my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
Motion.
Motion by Chris Towers
Second.
and second by Consuela Brown. Roll call, John.
Yes, Alman absent, Brown,
Yes.
Carr absent, Ivy absent, Story,
Yes.
Towers,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes,
consent agenda items carried.
thank you. So we're moving on to the action items, but before we vote on it. So do you guys need, I know we did Dr. Alexander did a tax levy resolution, the presentation on it. Do you guys want to see the presentation for the other 3, like the approval of teacher evaluation, the disposal district property resolution, or so forth? Or do you just want to go on and vote on them?
So we could vote. A quick question. Are we there at the property resale yet to sell?
No,
No?
not yet. That I can tell.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, Dr. Alexander,
No, are we there yet to vote on that or no? Are we at that action item?
no,
yet?
I just asked the question. Did you guys want to hear Dr. Alexander do the presentation on them? Because we haven't voted on it yet.
I don't know. I mean, I'd actually like to table the evaluation because I have some questions and concerns. So I don't know that a presentation is going to help, but if that's what the district would like to do, that's entirely up to them.
Dr. Alexander?
I'm fine with going through the presentation or answering the questions, whatever you have.
Consuela, ask your questions about
Yes.
that so we can move forward.
Yeah.
So I have questions about that and then questions about the.
Okay, you
teacher
want to ask a
evaluation.
question? Okay,
But why don't we take, it feels like we're taking the agenda out of order. Unless it's a consent, I mean, you would just sort of raise,
no, we're not taking the agenda out of order. I just asked, did you want to hear any of those presentations of those 4 items? So we're going to go through each one. I
Yes.
mean,
So let's hear the
Let's
presentation.
go
We can
through
ask
it, and then when
questions.
it's time, she just asks her question.
right.
Yeah.
So you guys want to hear the tax levy resolution presentation on that one, correct?
No, I don't have to. He gave the tax levy.
Because he gave it to us. That's why I'm asking.
Right.
So,
No,
No,
okay.
we just want to go ahead and vote.
we
and
can
then-
vote on that.
So, what about the approval of the teacher evaluation? So, Dr. Alexander, you,
Madam President, could you just go through the action items and then we have a question? We'll state we have a question.
okay. So the
Thank you.
approval, all right. So the approval of teacher evaluation system adoption policy 4:60. Dr. Alexander,
Sure, Ms.
Actually-
Brown, what's your question for that?
So how did we, I don't know this universe well. I am curious how we came to this particular, it feels really CPS heavy in terms of the staffing, but how did we come to this particular contractor? Was there a bid process? And then 2, how were senior leadership involved in the selection process? And then 3, as we look at a data-driven system, is a 3-year commitment, and I know you're gonna probably say cost, but is a 3-year commitment prudent given that there's some planning that's about to go on? So the first is in this universe of potential software developers and services, how did we come to this particular vendor?
Sure. So this was actually coming out of the HR department. I'm just giving a presentation because they're not here tonight. But essentially, there are multiple programs across the state that you could utilize for your teacher evaluation systems. The reason we need is because our district is currently out of compliance. We don't have a consolidated way to house teacher evaluations. We don't have a system that allows us to create our honorable dismissal list, which is it used to be called a seniority list, but now it's much more involved. And so we looked through the different companies as to what we wanted in the district and the ease of it. And Innovare was the company that we came to that had the best program for our district. So this was primarily out of human resources with Ms. Williams in collaboration with teaching and learning with Ms. Bates. So it's a known product that's used across the state of Illinois. And when we went through the demo, it had the most ease of use. We're not an extremely large district, so we didn't want to get something like Oracle, which could cost you well into the 6 figures, but we needed to make sure that the program was going to work for our 78 certified staff. You asked the question about who was involved. So like I said, this came out of HR in collaboration with teaching and learning. The 3-year contract, at this point, I'm just asking for the 1 year. And essentially what the 1 year does is it gets us on track, but 2, it allows us to learn the system and make sure that it works for our purposes. The benefit of the 3-year contract is that we're paying for licenses up front at a discounted rate. Now, the discounted rate, I think, was like $600 a year that they discount. So if we decided not to do multiple year and then just renew year after year where we want it to be, then I'm fine with it. But the other side of it is that Senate Bill 7 and the Performance Evaluation Act, PERA, is not going anywhere. That's something that districts are required to do. And it's actually something that we have to comply with based on the union contract. So this is not something that's necessarily going to have a change impact in the next few years.
Thank you.
okay, anybody else? All right, and then the letter C, approval of disposal district property resolution, policy 4:70.
Well,
We have to vote on that first.
We haven't voted
action-
on A, we haven't voted on
Right, so-
A either.
So can we vote on the one that he just said with the teacher evaluative tool?
So we're gonna vote on them together because they're together in 5. They're not separate.
Madam President, they're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
listed as a consent agenda, so we vote on
No,
each of them
Correct.
individually.
You, okay.
Correct.
So going back to the action item, letter A, the approval of the tax levy resolution 23-005. May I have a motion to approve the tax levy?
Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Sherry Story, second by Chris Towers. And roll call, John?
Yes, Alman, absent, Brown,
Yes, as a present, yes.
okay, Carr, absent, Ivy, absent, Story,
Yes.
Towers,
Yes.
all right, Harris,
Yes.
okay, motion carried.
All right. 5B, approval of teacher evaluation system adoption. May I have a motion to approve that?
Motion.
Motion by Chris Towers,
Second,
second by Consuela Brown. Roll call, John?
Yes, Alman, absent, Brown,
yes.
Carr, absent, Ivy, absent, Story,
Yes.
Towers,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
okay, motion carried.
So now we're on approval disposal district property resolution. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. My question is, what was the rationale that both of them, you have the $150 for the desk, the computer, and then you have $150 for the laptop. What's the significant
So-
difference?
There's two separate types of laptops. We have the laptops that were used for administrative purposes, and then we have the laptops that were for student purposes. Those are lower. The desk so it's a desk, a chair, and an all-in-one. That's one price. That's the 150, and then you have the teacher computer or the administrative use computer at 150, which is a higher grade, higher functioning. And then you have the Chromebook, which was used by students. That's the lowest price.
So I have a question. So
Mhm.
were the furniture in the library, was those included with this as well?
Yes, that's what this is, the desk and the rocking chairs with the all-in-ones in it.
And the computer that's inside the desk?
Yes, ma'am. Yep, they get a full computer, mouse, and keyboard.
And that's rated at how much? 150?
150. And these are all market prices. So we what's ClearCorp, they did the appraisal, and these are the prices that they gave us for market price. So if you went and bought this stuff off of Amazon, that's what you would get for it.
So Dr. Alexander, I know you sent us
Mhm.
in your update about those monitors. Are you all including those, or what we doing with those?
No, those monitors are not included. From what I was told, those monitors were purchased for the use of using during science fairs and the social studies fair.
Hmm.
I have my opinion about why would you purchase monitors just for that reason. But we are going to find a way to repurpose them across the district.
Okay, thank you.
And those are all the computers that's up at, is that Burr Oak School?
No,
Or which-
those are
how you meant?
the monitors Ms. Story's talking about are the ones that they're just monitors. They're not computers. They're just screens.
Oh, I see. Right, I
They're
remember.
just monitors.
But
Yeah,
what-
so
Okay,
they were purchased to be used with the science fair and the social studies fair.
okay.
But yes, we are working on a plan to repurpose them.
All right. So may I have a motion to approve disposal of district property resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Chris Towers, second by Sherry Story. Roll call, John?
Yes, Alman, absent, Brown,
Yes.
Carr,
Yes, I apologize for being late. I had emergency. Yes,
okay, Ivy is absent, Story,
Yes.
Towers,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right. So last one, letter D, approval of strategic plan facilitator, policy 4:60. Question?
So I don't want to I'm trying to respect my lane. I would like to, something as important as the strategic plan. I'd like to just have a little bit of time to better understand what deliverables are and who this company is. When I tried to Google it, nobody seemed to show up, and that the person that did show up seemed to be a technology firm. So I would like to use our time next month to have a better sense of, well, it seems like we threw out 17,500. I'm not sure what that was based on. And someone as important as this, I'd like to have an opportunity as board to be able to get a better sense of who these folks are and what they do, and a better sense of actual costs associated with it. In disclosure, I do this professionally, so I probably wouldn't send the board this kind of document as a way to kind of explain the work that was going to be done. And so I would actually like us to table it and bring this back, since I know there's a December to April timeline, but truthfully, if December is here already, and I can't imagine that you're going to get a whole lot done in December anyways. So if we could do a January to May timeframe, and maybe you should hear from you as to why you came up with that particular timeframe, and is it feasible? So I've got a bunch of questions. I think we as a board maybe need to take a little bit more time to just sort of hear what this is and why you're thinking about it this way.
So Ms. Brown, I believe it was at the October board meeting, I gave a presentation about the strategic plan, the process, the timeline, and essentially what the deliverables were of the strategic plan, or what we were expecting the facilitator to present. The $17,500 mark, in consultation with the Illinois Association of School Administrators, Superintendent Organization, we had conversation so that we could better understand what was a feasible price. And that feasible price goes based on essentially the size of your district and what you're asking them to do. So in that $17,000, it's the actual work of them holding focus groups with multiple stakeholder groups. So that would be staff, students, community. They do a focus group directly with the Board of Education. They do work with administration as it relates to better understanding. So that's their research and discovery of the district. And then they do the processing of the data. They do the presentation of the data, as well as the presentation of the final document. Inclusive of that price is also logistics. So that's travel. Every company, you have to pay them for travel to and from your district. If they're out of state, you have to pay for accommodations. That was one of the things that our administrative team was very focused on, was that we didn't want to spend a lot of money on hotels and flights. We wanted somebody that was local, somebody that understood our district. M&M Consulting is led by 3 retired superintendents. As you can see in the presentation, we have 4 companies. HYA, which is one of the largest strategy and superintendent search firms in the state of Illinois. We had Leadership Edge, which is the company that's also doing work with our Family and Community Engagement Center. We had Leveraging Excellence, which is another strategic planning company, and M&M. So we have 4 participants. 3 of them were mostly local. HYA it's Illinois based, but they're a national firm, so they do this all over the country. The final 2 companies were HYA and M&M. And we, after interviewing HYA and M&M, we felt that M&M was more relative and knowing of our district and our community. And we felt that they would have a better chance of eliciting good data to put inside of a strategic plan. So that's essentially where we were with it. The reason it's on the agenda today is because we put our timeline. was that it would be approved today. And then December 1st, that's when they start the process. And so between December 1st and we go out on Christmas break, you have what, 23 days. We go out on the 23rd. And a lot of that process was the design, working with the administration to understand and do the research of the district. And then after January, that's when all of the focus groups would happen. So I know, Ms. Brown, you do this professionally, and the goal is that we have a strategic plan approved by the board by the end of the school year, which would be is approved in May with a public display before school. Approved in April with the public display in May. So it's a lengthy process, but in order to make sure we got it done, they would want to start by December.
So I have a question.
Mhm.
So, if and so that we don't, and we table this, I mean, so what would be our downfall if we don't?
I would hope that we could still work with whoever we selected to do it. But one risk you would take is that the company may say that this does not work within our professional schedule. So they may pull out, and then we have to go back to the drawing board and start over. So that may be one of the challenges.
So that's one of the challenges, but how detrimental would it be for us as a district to not have that?
We possibly won't have it done in time for, because essentially it starts July 1, 2023. So we may not have it done in time for a new school year.
But would this set us back or what?
Well, I mean, I guess that's relative to your perception of what a setback is. Are we essentially, because the strategic plan also guides what you do. So when we're starting to talk about planning and preparation for the upcoming year, we have a document that guides our work. And if that document is not complete, then we may not have the total direction that we need.
But I just
prior-
want to, sorry, Madam Chair.
I
I
have,
just want to point out that we're talking about 3 weeks, and something is this important. I mean, we're just talking about 3 weeks. I can imagine perhaps, yes, that they may find someone, another client between now and December 15th, but I suspect that's probably not the case. So we're just saying, I just want to put it in, so we're talking about being 3 weeks out. So I hear you, but we're just talking about 3 weeks.
Well,
not-
and essentially, and I don't have an argument for you. Essentially, Ms. Brown, they're just following the
dates we gave them.
timeline that was given to them.
Yes, I know.
All right, Carr,
yes, so my understanding, Dr. Alexander, from all that you just said, this strategic plan has to be approved by this board, not the incoming board. It has to be, because this board is getting ready to change. So you're saying this board has to approve it in order to move forward in that timeline.
Well, I don't think I'm saying that explicitly.
That's what
I'm
it
saying,
sounds like, because you spoke on I'm sorry to interrupt you because I came in late and I apologize to you for that, but I had an emergency. But you specifically said more than once about a timeline. And
yes.
as a board member, knowing that the board is getting ready to change over, I'm concerned too about a timeline. Because we had they talked about that a lot in Meetings Matters, one of the classes that I took. So to me, if we could have a little more, if I could have a little more understanding on what we're doing with the strategic planning, then I don't see no reason why we couldn't move forward with your timeline. Is it anywhere where I can read anything in regards to this motion that's coming from your staff? Your staff put this together, Your staff will have to execute it. You're over that. So is it anywhere, you know, that I can read something for myself and research and look?
Sure. Well, we put in all of the documentation in the board packet. To your question, Ms. Carr, our
In this
timeline
board
was,
package, I'm sorry, in this board package?
yes, ma'am, it should be there.
Okay,
Um,
I'll look at that.
our timeline necessarily did not correlate to school board elections. Our timeline more so correlated to the school year. So it was approved in April, so that in May, before school let out, before all of our teachers and students were gone, we could do a public display of the strategic plan.
And
So
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. But your timeline, because I'm not down on the dance floor, I'm in
mhm.
the balcony. My timeline is April. I need to see things happen. We learned that for the incoming new board members. We talked about that extensively in the class that I just had. So that's why I'm saying you got your timeline and I respect your timeline. But I have my timeline too, as a board member exiting off of this board, and things that I vote on will be executed, get down, when I'm gone. So I need to know, understand what I'm voting on now. To
Well,
me, it's critical. Everything is critical to me now.
I think, Ms. Carr, you'll still be on the board in April when this gets voted on, if I'm understanding what you're saying.
Right, and that's why I want to understand what I'm voting on, moving
So,
forward.
this is the strategic plan of the district, right? And
Yes,
so we hire a facilitator to lead us through the process.
right,
And the facilitator essentially walks us through every step, from designing what the strategic plan looks like aesthetically, to collecting the data, all of the surveys, to they actually host the town hall meetings, or the focus group. That's what it's called. I'm sorry, focus group. So they meet with the teachers, they meet with the staff, they meet with the community, they meet with the administration, they meet with the school board. And they take all of that data, and we use an outside person because they're unbiased. So they're going to give the 100% truth versus it being slanted because we want it to look like this or we wanted to say that. So that's why you have the facilitator.
and
And
I love your plan. My thing is, I'm just saying that you said the documents are in this board package. That's what you told me, and I just want to read and research for myself. I'm not saying I'm against the plan, Dr. Alexander,
okay,
at this point. I'm just saying that I need to be more knowledgeable because I have a timeline too.
okay, yep,
So we
and
can
it's
work
there, and if
together. We can work,
yep,
we can collaborate and work together. And I appreciate
yes,
all that you
ma'am.
do.
Yep, it's there, and if there's anything else you need, you can work with me and John, and we'll make sure you get it.
Okay, sounds like a good plan. I'll be worrying John more so than you.
No problem.
Oh, my goodness.
So am I looking, what, are you guys looking to table this or you're voting on it?
I got a question, Dr. Alexander.
Yes, sir.
Who all was, you say you guys like streamed the other companies. Who was with you on that panel?
Myself, Miss Bates, and Miss Saberson.
Okay. Yeah, I share the same concern that Ms. Carr had, because I do know if we prolong it, it comes to a new board, then your new board comes in, they got to learn what's happening. They have to get an understanding of it, and it's perhaps you can get delayed, and we won't have this done by the time the new school year is in. So my time on the board is actually going to be up, I think, in April, right? April will be my last board meeting. I was prepared to actually vote on it. So if majority want to table it, that's fine. But I was actually prepared to vote on it. If you guys went through it and you checked the companies, 17,000 is not an unreasonable amount. It seems pretty straightforward to me. I was
And,
concerned.
and to be quite honest, when we met with these companies, they all said they all said that we lowballed. And I can't speak to if it was a low ball number or a high ball, but we went based on the information that we received from other districts around us that have done it recently. And that's where the number fell from. So I think the $17,500, especially in the breakdown, the majority of it is you're paying for the consultant's time and the time and them coming to do all of the presentations and the focus groups, which could be 3 to 4 hours. And then you're paying for the time that they take to consolidate the document. And I'm expecting the document to be probably 50 to 75 pages once it's done. So there is a lot of time and effort that goes into it.
Okay,
So that's probably why I was suspicious, because I know what a strategic plan costs. And I was
Oh, the
like,
price was
really
even
just-
low to you, right, Consuelo?
I was laughing. It's like I would walk away from it. I wouldn't even.
Well, and Ms. Brown, I hear exactly what you're saying, but I think the reality is that, especially like when you do it in the education field, you have a template, so to speak. So you know the foundation of it. You're just going to get the specific data of the district to plug it in. Versus if you were going to a brand new company and you literally were starting everything from scratch.
Okay.
So I think that's how you get around the other part. But I also will say that the fact that we selected a company in the state of Illinois who's local, I think that saved us probably 33%, because a lot of the companies, well, two of them in particular, most of their fees were airfare, hotels, and rental cars, and hotel, just for the people to get to Chicago 4 or 5 times throughout the process.
Okay. Ms. Brown, you said you had something else?
No, I still am a little queasy about hurrying up. I hear you. I have a different, so Ms. Carr's question actually gave me pause even more, because it's about, thinking a little bit more strategically about this, but I understand Mr. Towers and Ms. Carr's urgency. I do think that 3 weeks and I would never do a strategic plan without engaging the board, because it's essentially their plan. And
that's definitely part of the process. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's definitely part of the process. So before we go out on Christmas break, M&M will consult the board. That's part of the process.
Right. So
Even
I was just
before
trying to, I was trying to get us a little bit more time. I'm asking you just for 3 weeks, but I will yield to, if nobody else feels that way, I'm fine to, this hopefully will be on record somewhere that I asked us to pause a little bit just to check these folks out.
I wouldn't mind researching prior to my voting. I'd like to be knowledgeable on what I'm voting on. So
John,
I could
isn't the
table it- I could
proposal in
table
the
it
package?
if- I could table it to a time frame, Dr. Alexander, to kind of compromise with Consuela, yet allow you to move forward. She says, what, 3 weeks?
Next board, we could have them at the committee of the whole. And I'm sure you could have a conversation with them prior. I don't think I just want to get a sense of who they are and sort of their process.
So
And
John, okay.
Doctor,
Do you
yeah,
have it in the
Dr.
board packet?
Yeah, it's actually on page 105 in the PDF that was sent to you, all the board members.
When is our next board meeting? When is our next opportunity to vote on this?
Was it December
This-
17th?
Yes,
It's not that.
December something.
I
It's
mean,
December
15th, I think.
15th.
15th?
And there's a committee of the whole meeting on the 8th, right?
Well, the board will be in Miami, so there won't be a
Yeah,
committee of the whole.
Okay.
from the 7th through the 10th,
Okay.
11th. So we won't be here. So that's why.
Okay.
So what other information, Dr. Alexander, can you give us prior I mean, can you still like give us information prior to, I mean, after our vote or?
Sure, we can make sure you have their entire proposal. And I'm looking at the board pack and I just see I see the presentation, but John can send out the proposal. Probably can send it out tonight. Let's see. Hold on a second. I'm trying to go through here. Oh.
So I guess this is my thing then, if they want to know, I see the urgency, but if they want to have more, what I'm hearing Cara say is the urgency, but she still wants to read more on it. So if we table it to the next section, and just have more of what is going on, even though it's in our packet, to more read it and then be able to ask those questions, then I'm for tabling it.
So, but
And that's
for how
fine.
long?
Thank you,
My
Dr.
question is,
Alexander.
Dr. Alexander, I'm definitely not for pushing it along, not giving board members an opportunity to look at it. My question is that we just have to weigh it. We still want to have an opportunity to get it done. I'm being selfish. I want to have an opportunity to vote on it before I exit my term. So, but I also don't want to shorten the time that the people have to actually gather the information to do the strategic plan, to do their process. So that's my concern. So will we end up going after our term if we push it back a couple of weeks? Because it seems like a tight time frame. And do we want to say, okay, well, we still want you to have it to us for me and Ms. Carr can vote on it, but that means we shorten the time that they have to actually do the strategic plan.
So, I mean, we have a short timeline period. Usually your timeline probably would be a full year, 12 months. But essentially my requirement is to get this done within my first year there. So, we kind of are already at a deficit with time. So pushing it out further, again, if the board wants to table it and wait, I'm perfectly fine with it. I just caution you that we may not have it in time for July 1 start, which is expected.
But that would be the case no matter what, right? Even if we voted on it today, this is what I know as a consultant that you can't promise me even that we're going to have it in April. I don't know what, I mean, all kinds of things can happen.
I agree, because that's what happened when we was doing superintendent search. We had a timeline frame that they kept throwing at us, but they took that time to get that process made in order to get that $6,000 or $7,000. So I know this is not much these people are getting, but this won't be the first time that they had to crunch to get something done. That's part of being in a business. Any entity is going to run into that.
Dr. Alexander, question. We didn't have this before, did we? The strategic plan.
To my knowledge, the district has not had a strategic
So we
plan.
never had one. So all of a sudden, I mean.
Well, we take the consensus of the board. Look like we don't have the votes to have it. I say we move on. We table it and move on.
So may I have a motion to table until what, how long?
To the
Next
December board meeting.
Yes.
To the 15th, December 15th?
Yes.
Is that our next board?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Chris Towers, second by Consuelo Brown. Roll call, John?
Yes, give me 1 second. Okay, Alman absent, Brown,
Yes.
Carr,
Yes,
Ivy absent, Story,
Yes.
Towers,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
item tabled.
All right.
Right.
Public
Thank you.
comments. If you intend to speak, please fill out. We have community members out, John.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I guess at the moment, we could just ask before we read that.
Okay.
Is there any community members that would like to have or state any public comments at this time?
Well, no
No.
comments. All right, no comments. So, I have to go into that. So may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Consuela Brown, second.
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 Story.
Story, second. Roll call, John?
Yes, Alman, absent, Brown,
Yes.
Carr,
Yes.
Ivy, absent, Story,
Yes.
Towers,
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Motion carried at 6:54 PM.
All
You
right.
all
Thank
have a
you all.
wonderful holiday
Have
weekend.
a
Okay,
Happy
you
holidays.
guys
holiday.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Not too much turkey.